due to mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Cecil was a well-known and well-respected member of the community.
Very big heart, very giving man.
When I turned the lights on, we knew then that we had a serious situation.
That was not only a homicide, there was a tremendous effort to cover up a homicide.
There was a large piece of plywood laying over top of the shallow grave.
Buried in the backyard, the case of Cecil Chacon. Tonight's NC Mystery. Also tonight, he's the dirty uncle who came to America and preyed on his niece. Tonight, make sure this predator never travels again. NC Wanted starts now.
Good evening, I'm Gerald Owens. Welcome to our second edition of NC Wanted. Tonight, police need your tips to capture a guy who takes advantage of children in his own family. It's bedtime for a 10-year-old girl living with her aunt in Chapel Hill. After a kiss goodnight, the girl we'll call Katrina climbs under the covers and turns out the light. It seems so innocent, but this innocent little girl is about to experience an act of unspeakable betrayal. Chapel Hill police say in the early hours of October 1st, 2006, a man enters the girl's room and places his hand over her mouth. Terrified, the girl awakens to see someone she knows. It's her uncle, Celestino Gutierrez Molina, a Mexican national visiting the family in North Carolina. Gutierrez Molina proceeds to sexually violate his niece for an agonizing amount of time. The girl tells police the sexual assault goes on so long she could see the sunrise. After he finishes with her, Gutierrez Molina flees the house through a window, taking his belongings with him. Once she believes her uncle is gone, the traumatized girl wakes her aunt to tell her what happened. Meanwhile, Gutierrez Molina runs to a friend's apartment in nearby Carborough, where he bums a ride to RDU International with full intentions of fleeing the U.S. By this time, the girl's aunt is rushing the girl to the emergency room, where doctors will soon discover physical evidence of the assault. It's possible Gutierrez Molina may have found a way to get to Mexico, but his wife in Mexico knows what he did, and authorities don't think he made it out. What we know is he has relatives living in the Chapel Hill, Carborough area. Authorities have linked him to areas in and around Tarboro. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Celestino Gutierrez Molina, call us right now at 1-866-43-WANTED or log on to our website at ncwanted.com. Your identity will be treated as confidential and you can remain anonymous. When fugitives violate the terms of their parole, police give them a name. They call them absconders. Shockingly, right now, more than 15,000 absconders are roaming free throughout North Carolina. Some are so dangerous, police have to put them on their most wanted lists. Enter Clayton Earl Levi from Cumberland County. He's an absconder wanted for violating parole and failing to register as a sex offender. He's been associated with white supremacist groups in the Fayetteville area. And tonight, police believe Clayton Earl Levi is a time bomb waiting to go off because they know what he's capable of. It's May 8th, 2000. An unusually hot day in Fayetteville has given way to a long night of heavy drinking at this local party. Most people have called it a night, but for Clayton Levi, his party isn't over. He stumbles his way through the local neighborhood, prowling for female company. He comes upon a house he recognizes. Inside is a woman Levi knows. She's married, but her husband is away, and her children are asleep in another room. She answers the door, and Levi makes his way inside. It's a reluctant decision the woman will soon regret. Levi meanders through the house. It doesn't take long to reveal his true intentions. With complete disregard for her wishes, her marriage, and even her children, Clayton Levi forces the woman to perform oral sex against her will. Once Levi has his way, he's so intoxicated he doesn't leave. The woman frees herself to call 911, and it isn't long before Levi is having his own private party behind bars. Putting him behind bars was the good news. Tonight, the bad news is Clayton Levi is on the loose again in our area. He's violated his parole and is prowling around as an unregistered sex offender. He's considered armed and dangerous. His record is as long as his ponytail, including an arrest in Texas for homicide and an extensive history of dealing drugs. Tonight, U.S. Marshals desperately need your help to find Clayton Earl Levi. Levi manages to stay under the radar by working construction and has a specialty in indoor-outdoor paint jobs. He's bald on top, but likes to wear his remaining hair in a ponytail. Levi has several characteristics that should be easy to spot. On one arm, he has a tattoo of a snake engulfing itself in flames. The other arm displays a tattoo of the biohazard symbol. Levi also has scars on his chest and hand. He has strong ties to the Fayetteville area, where he may be involved with white supremacists. If you think you've seen Clayton Earl Levi, call our hotline right now at 1-866-43-WANTED or go to our website at ncwanted.com. You don't have to share your identity. Our hotline operators will take your call day or night. Now, stay tuned. We have much more ahead.
Coming up, a big man with a big heart. That's how people in Henderson describe Cecil Chacon. Now, 15 years after his brutal murder, police need your help solving the case of a gentle giant that was buried in his own backyard. Tonight's NC Mystery is next.
Welcome back to our second edition of NC Wanted. Tonight we look at a case that shocked people in the small town of Henderson. It's the story of Cecil Chacon, a gentle giant who was 6'4" and nearly 300 pounds. Those who knew him have described him as a loyal father and a devoted son who didn't have a bad bone in his body. But in 1992, Cecil Chacon met a violent and senseless death, ambushed and viciously murdered in his own home. Will you be able to help investigators break this case wide open? Maybe tonight is the night for Cecil Chacon to get his justice from the grave. Henderson, North Carolina, the outskirts of town. Deputies come across an abandoned vehicle.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning, the vehicle shouldn't have been there. So we just checked the vehicle and ran it through DMV, and it came back to Mr. Cecil Chacon.
Cecil Chacon was not the kind of person who would leave his car abandoned without telling anyone.
Well, I tried to notify Mr. Chacon that we had found his car, and if he knew where it was or if it had just broke down for any particular reason. I called his home and got no answer, got an answer machine, so I left a message. Well, I didn't hear anything from him the rest of that shift.
Cecil Chacon was one of the most well-liked and well-respected members of the community, the kind of person people turned to when they needed support.
Very big heart, very giving man. Cecil was just a good person. He loved his family, his children, his mother.
Cecil also loved to work. He held down 3 jobs, one of which was coordinator for Vance County Schools.
He was always trying to find somebody, to fill the needs that the children had.
He put the needs of those around him first, while he struggled with hardships in his own life.
He had a hard last year or so. His marriage had ended. He was trying to juggle the care with the children. Then he also had an ailing mother that he was now having to take care of.
Cecil Chacon's ailing mother sensed something was wrong when she didn't hear from him as usual, and he hadn't picked up his children who were with his estranged wife.
The next night when I came to work at 7 o'clock, there was a message waiting for me from his mother, Miss Bessie Chacon, wanting to speak to the deputy that found Cecil's car, that she had not seen him in several days, and that she would like for us to see if we could locate him.
Later that evening, police went by Cecil's home to see if he was okay.
When I got to the front of the house, we found several windows open.
They suspected a possible break-in.
We checked the living room, the kitchen, closet off the hallway. We opened the door to the first bedroom, which appeared to be the children's bedrooms, bunk beds in there. When I turned the lights on, we knew then that we had a serious situation. There was an excessive amount of blood on the carpet, on parts of the bed, There was an easel in the room like maybe children would draw on. There was blood on that, blood on the dresser drawer. We notified the detective on call by phone of what we had.
Mr. Sparrow, I need you to notify the detective and the sheriff.
But we had no body.
Blood all over the children's bedroom, but no body in sight. Detective Shockley arrived and deputies began to canvass the area around the house.
We went out back, it's probably an estimate, maybe 25 yards from the house. There was a large piece of plywood laying over top of the shallow grave. We removed the plywood, and we knew we had then found the body by just the odor. Lieutenant Shockley moved enough dirt with his hand to determine that we actually did have a body. We put it back exactly like we found it, and that's when we notified the SBI.
I said, well, what happened? What happened in reference to this homicide? And there was a long pause, which was very unusual over the phone. And the detective said, you're just not going to believe what happened. And when I arrived, we very carefully went through the crime scene, and they were explaining to me what had happened. Apparently it looked like a struggle occurred, and it appeared they had dragged the victim out of the house and into the backyard at a distance of over 140 feet.
But with no obvious blood trail leading out of the bedroom, investigators were left wondering how the killer managed to get the body from the house to the backyard without a trace. What they uncovered gave them clues about their killer.
They found several kitchen knives that had been washed. It was in the sink, had been washed clean. There was evidence that the kitchen floor and the living room floor, which was linoleum tile, had been scrubbed and cleaned. The SBI did luminol test to track the blood across the floor. That stuff's amazing. I mean, you put it down and the blood just jumps out like a neon sign. They could actually track that the body was taken across that tile and out the back door and down the deck to the grave site.
Why would a killer take the time to clean up a crime scene, drag Chacon's body out of the house, and bury him in his own backyard? When 48-year-old Cecil Chacon was found stabbed to death and buried in his own backyard, investigators uncovered evidence that Cecil's killer stuck around long after he was dead.
That was not only a homicide, there was a tremendous effort to cover up a homicide.
Cecil Chacon was a very big man. He was 280 pounds, 6'4", 6'5".
I find it hard that one man could overpower him to this extent. I really think there's more than one involved.
I really think Cecil tried to fight his perpetrators. And I think he knew who they were.
But as the events unfolded, it was those who knew him best who were left wondering why this happened at all.
I didn't know Cecil to have any enemies. Everybody knew him, everybody loved him, and it was just shocking to me.
The entire community of Henderson was in shock. Police immediately began tracking down leads.
We did develop people of interest that we talked to because of one reason or another, roadblocks, leads fizzled. Eventually, after months of work, we were basically at a dead end.
So investigators revisited the evidence to determine if robbery really was the motive.
Well, there were obviously items taken from the house, a gun and a wallet, but when you look at it a little closer, there's a lot of problems with that because other items from the house were not taken.
After 6 months of investigation, a routine traffic stop gave them their first real break.
State trooper stopped a person on the road for a DWI, and he had a flashlight in his car, and the flashlight had Cecil Chacon's name on it. And that was one of the items we couldn't find in the house, and we were very excited about that.
Investigators wondered, could they have just stumbled upon the killer?
But as it turned out that after Cecil's death, his mother had sold some of the items that Cecil had. This flashlight was one of them, and this person had just purchased it. So that of course fizzled out.
Fizzled out like all the other leads that investigators doggedly pursued. But now, 15 years later, they have a new tool that could put someone behind bars.
I think there's some evidence in this case that DNA could be looked at, which I would think would be very encouraging after 15 years.
With a mountain of evidence and new technology, investigators say time is on their side, and they're confident that one day they will find the killer.
And this is 15 years later, and this man's life was taken. And I want it solved, even though I'm retired. And I know the detectives that worked on it wants it solved, even though a lot of them are retired. Family wants it solved.
Him being taken away like he was is just a tragedy. He should have been here to see all the milestones in his children's lives. He should be here now.
Joining us now is Dr. Michael Teague, a forensic psychologist. Dr. Teague, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What strikes you first about this crime scene is how messy it was. You had blood in one part of the house, yet in another part of the house, the blood was cleaned up.
Yeah, I think this is obviously very much of a disorganized crime scene. I think obviously it had so much amateurish quality to it. All the work done didn't achieve any really good purpose. Why carry a body that close to the house and bury the body so shabbily? Why drop the car off just this short area? It just shouts to me that this was not planned at all, that this happened at the spur of the moment, and after you had this bloody body, the person or persons sort of freaked out like, oh my gosh, what do I do next? And here you have these very amateurish, stressful reactions.
One theory here is that Cecil Chacon returned from vacation and surprised someone trying to burglarize his house. Would that explain the wounds on the victim?
Yeah, I think very much so. You consider the fact that most people in our prisons are burglars, and you consider the fact that this is the most frequent crime committed in North Carolina. It very often happens that you have a burglary happen, somebody walks in. Again, you have two people, the victim and the perpetrator, both stressing out, not being very logical. Whoever grabs the knife first, whoever delivers it the best first. And so I think that's what you have, this type of situation. This is a very volatile combination, is somebody walking in the midst of a burglary of their house.
Dr. Teague, thank you for your expert opinions, and we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
We want to point out we tried to contact Cecil Chacon's immediate family for an on-camera interview, but they declined our request. They did, however, submit a written statement, which can be found on our website, ncwanted.com. Now, tonight, investigators need your help to solve the case of Cecil Chacon. More than $5,000 is being offered as a reward for information leading to an arrest. A lot can happen in 15 years. People talk, secrets are revealed. If you know anything about this murder, call us right now at 1-866-43-WANTED. That's 1-866-439-2683. Or log on to our website, ncwanted.com. You don't have to reveal your identity.
What would you do if nearly 100 sex offenders lived all around you? That's the way it is for people living in Raleigh zip code 27610. That's where you'll find at least 98 sex offenders living in the vicinity of 4 elementary schools, including Bug Elementary and Poe Elementary. To find out more, go to ncwanted.com and click on the NC Sex Offender Registry.
All right, when we come back, we'll recap tonight's cases and give you another chance to provide that one lead that can help get a dangerous fugitive off our streets. Stay with us. Now, let's review tonight's cases. First, Celestino Gutierrez Molina is a man who ignores the boundaries of age and family. He's a Mexican national who police say molested his 10-year-old niece in Chapel Hill. Then he tried to flee the country. Authorities have reason to believe he never made it out of the U.S. Gutierrez Molina may be in and around Tarboro and may be hiding out with extended family or friends in that area. Next, Clayton Earl Levi is a dangerous absconder from justice and is linked to white supremacists in Cumberland County. Tonight, officials need your help to give this unregistered sex offender a permanent address behind bars. He could be laying low, working construction or painting houses. He's bald on top, but wears a ponytail with his remaining hair. Look for his distinct tattoos, a biohazard symbol on one arm a snake engulfing itself in flames on the other. Finally, a cold case in Vance County has investigators asking for information that may lead to an arrest in the vicious murder of Cecil Chacon. Brutally stabbed and buried in his own backyard, investigators need your tips to bring justice for a man who was loved in the Vance County community. If you know anything about these cases, call us now at 1-866-43-WANTED or log on to our website, ncwanted.com. Our live operators are available 24/7, day or night. You don't have to reveal your identity and can remain anonymous. Due to special programming, we won't see you next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching. Together, we can fight to protect the quality of life we hold so dear in North Carolina. I'm Gerald Owens. Good night.